What is going on, everybody? It is time for another Pop Culture Crisis movie review that is not a movie review. It is a television review for the Season 2 finale of Reacher. It is entitled Flyboy. My name is Brett, and I'm here once again with Wesley.
Thank you for having me.
Now, it's been very nice to have somebody to actually talk about this with the last several episodes, which has been funny because it's this kind of gem of a show that I see people talking about online but haven't really had anybody with, to discuss it with here. But we have now finished Season 2, unlike Season 1, which was all released at one time. Season 2 was episodes 1 through 3 all at once and then week to week for the rest of it. In this episode, essentially what you get is exactly what it looks like at the end of at the end of episode 7. They're getting ready to be he's getting ready to be taken into Langston's compound where he's going to try and rescue Dixon and O'Donnell. And what you get after that is essentially what I said it would be, which is that they wrap the season up very quickly. And I do mean very quickly. This was done within like 20 minutes, and then you got 20 minutes of outro in this episode. So he's brought in there. Dixon and O'Donnell have been taken hostage, and then they take Reacher hostage. And as you know, he had previously called Senator Lavoie and said, I need to borrow 3 of your men. It is really funny because he said that was it was like 2 rangers in this, or 1 ranger and 2 seals. Yeah. I don't know which one of the women was the ranger or the seal, but that made me laugh
also,
a little bit.
Bad actor.
The lady?
The lady.
I like her.
Bad actor.
Not in this, but I mean, she's barely in this at all, but I've enjoyed her in other stuff.
Okay.
But she's also, this is not the role for her.
Yeah.
This is not a role. I don't
Sorry
know
if you see this, but that line read.
Yeah. Well, and also, like you didn't have,
it's not her fault. It's the director's fault.
But no, it's like if you have like a whole list of like stuntmen who could have just give that line to somebody else and then let some big scary dude play the third part.
Yep.
Yeah, right. So anyways, so what we get here is he infiltrates and he gets taken hostage, and then all hell breaks loose when those members of Lavoie's security team come in, and they get free, and it's exactly what you expect to be. I'm not even kidding you guys when I say this show was done, and all of the tension was done in about 20 minutes. They take out pretty much all of Langston's guys here at this compound, and Langston escapes with Dixon and O'Donnell on a helicopter, which is, of course, evoking what happened in the first few episodes, which is where everybody was thrown out of the helicopters, right? How did you feel about the pacing?
So I thought everything was okay. I thought this episode was okay. The whole time I was watching it, like I wasn't able to immerse like I was in the early part of the season. It just the second half of the season did not work as much for me. It felt very rushed. It felt anticlimactic.
That would be, I think, the best word for it is that there was no, I'd been talking about how I expected some type of double cross. Yeah. We did not get that. Yeah. It was very paint by numbers.
Or like at the very least, like what I would have not hoped, like I would have hoped this show would avoid it, but because of how it went, what a lot of shows do is you have one good season, right? You have one good contained season, and then season 2 is part 1 of season 2, 3. It's
they went out of their way to do the opposite of that. They made sure that you understood this was its own self-contained element.
Yes, but that would have not saved it, but that would have explained it. I think if this was there's something much larger going on here, or the button that they put on Senator Lavoie, if that had been oh no, this guy is the big bad and he was going to be the nemesis of season 3.
Guys, yes, spoiler alert. Yes, yeah. I should have said that earlier.
Then I would have been okay, so that it implies that they're sticking together, or maybe just Neely and Reacher sticking together, or they're okay, you remember this other unit that we worked with one time, and we're going to bring in those people, and it's going to be, this story's going to grow larger. That would have been something that explained this drop off in the second half of the season for me personally.
Yeah, I don't know what they were going to do with it other than that, because they've decided that with the books it is very much, he is kind of like a Ronin who travels he's like a samurai with no master who travels the land, helping those in need. So I get maybe it's staying true to the literature to keep it this way.
But for a TV show,
but there's a reason why adaptation is adaptation and not
like this show
copy.
Needs a second element. Like the first half should have been set. There needs to be some sort of like, you know what I would compare this to? 24.
Okay.
Like, the thing about 24 is every season had a new threat, and they did carry over. But Jack always had a personal story that was like unraveling at the same time. He was like torn between his job and his life, and sometimes they intercross, whether it was Nina or his daughter or his wife or whatever, like there's something going on. This show needs something like that. They had that in the first season where it was like it was his origin, essentially, not his origin but his backstory. Like he was struggling with that. In this one, he's sort of, they're only showing it to give you context for the thing they're going up against now, but he didn't like have any kind of like thing he was struggling against. And if it's the relationship with Dixon, like no struggle to be found. They made it a few times. It was, it was actually kind of annoying.
Not even the type of thing where they save it till the end, and then that would have made more sense, at least because that's what they did in season 1. It didn't really happen until the end. Of season
I understand
1.
why they didn't, because it would have felt like a complete do-over of the same plot.
Yeah,
but it had a lot going for it. You did good. But there is some element missing, and it's constructive criticism. Not saying like you didn't do a good job, you didn't make a good show. I think you did. I enjoyed every single episode. But those early episodes were freaking bangers.
Yeah, you can like something and still see where things need to improve on. For me, I think it's the bad guys. I think that you had great characters.
They just AM.
Yeah, like this guy was built really well. I mean, he only got a couple of scenes every episode.
But he was brutal and interesting.
Yes. And he just kind of ends up being killed off in the opposite of that.
He gets Hitlered from Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
And it's like, like Quentin Tarantino, you can get away with that. Julian Glover or whatever, like you don't have the same panache.
Yeah, like to me, the way that when they get rid of Langston first. Basically, they get the helicopter scene is good. I thought it was
pretty good.
There was good tension building. It's ridiculously fake, but that's fine. It's not realistic. And so they get rid of Langston. I thought Robert Patrick did a great job of being snivelly and slimy at the end, begging for his life as he goes out. And he says, "See, I was waiting." That's where I thought the double cross was going to happen. I thought the double cross was going to happen in the helicopter, and none came. And so I was like, okay, so they got rid of Langston pretty quickly. We're like 12 to 15 minutes into this episode. I guess maybe what's going to happen with AM is that he's going to have a much bigger exit, and that's not what happened. 5 to 6 minutes later, he is taken out by essentially they all just Inglourious Bastard him, right? Yeah, it was.
And then the double cross is the tag team.
Yes,
which
isn't a double cross.
Really boring. Like it's over so quick. There's no moments of tension. They like immediately because they're pointing guns at them. They're like, oh, if they look so confident. They're like, no, we've already got this. So there's no moment of like, crap. And that would have been interesting. That would have been an interesting end. Like they're there caught under duress, right? And then season's over. Kick up the new season, and they're in jail. They're in some sort of like Blackwater prison. You know what I mean? Like that would have been interesting, and they have to get out. Like
it doesn't even have to be that. It could be like them being like they make them walk to the woods and they're gonna shoot him and bury him or something like that. And then the start of season 3 is them having to get out of that situation. Yeah. But like I said, it seems that they want to stay loyal from everything that I've seen to the books, or that he's going to be moving on to his next adventure. And so the next 20 minutes, because again 42 minutes, they stayed very loyal. I thought maybe they'll go longer for episode 8 for the finale, and they didn't. And the rest of the episode is essentially
redistribution of wealth.
It is. It's okay. So do you have that's an interesting question to raise. So they keep the money. Yeah. They keep the money and then basically give it to the victims.
Yeah, they do. And I think that like this is the one time where it's like that kind of makes sense, because it's not like this was like government money that they're like, this needs to go back to whatever institution for the taxpayers, which I also don't agree with. But the idea of like this is a massive corporate corrupt corporation that they're like, we're not going to give it back to you.
Yeah.
You're the reason this happened. So
And
the
it's
people
already
that
been-
died because of you, they're going to get it.
And it's already been established that he would have no moral qualms doing something like this because it's just, he doesn't have an inherent faith in the system.
No.
So it would have been out of character for him to give it back to the government and expect it to go back. And imagine expecting it to go back to the right place anyways, right? That's not going to happen.
No.
So the money is redistributed between all of the people who had lost a loved one, which was interesting because I was like trying to, because so many of those characters felt so secondary. Like you get Swan mentioned every episode, yet you never see Swan in the present day, which I thought was anticlimactic. Like they couldn't do a thing. Go with me, or they couldn't do a thing where they kill him in front of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like basically, guys, if for some reason you're watching this and you haven't watched the episode yet, there are people who do that, who watch reviews and don't necessarily. Basically, all that's left of Swan is his eye.
Yeah.
And that's how they made all of this happen. Is they used his thumbprint, and it's just, it felt anticlimactic to me too. It felt like it would have given them more of a reason to fight harder if perhaps they had seen him die in front of them, and it also would have made it feel like that's a great bit of tension. Have them get there almost, but come up short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think it would have been better if he had been like dispatched in front of him, like brought him out, and like we kept him alive because the biometrics, and like pretty sure you got to be alive for those for the most part, but
Like don't like fingerprint like really good fingerprint scanners have like pulse monitors or something like
and
that.
body heat and all
Yeah.
those things. So like, and like your eyes are going to degrade over time, like
Yeah.
decay. I mean, but obviously they had it in some sort of formaldehyde or preservative, but like it's going to be able to tell if you're not alive. So it just felt like a shortcut, which happens.
It did, however, like in these scenes, you did get to see Reacher again in his element. So the action scenes here of him, at least he looks,
Him fighting with
he looks
handcuffs was
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. It was actually kind of dumb because those people had guns. So that's back to what I was saying last time, which is they need somebody from the John Wick team to, like, same with the helicopter sequence. Like there was a lot of like standing around doing this, and like it looks so goofy. Like it's like there is a way to do this. There are elements you can add to the scene to make it feel more like the actions seem more deliberate and consequential, and not a lot of standing around waiting for something to happen. Because every moment that he's hanging over the edge of the aircraft holding a stretcher, there are people doing something, but he's there and he's like, I'm not going to let you go. You know, like those moments. And then they're watching him be like, well, I'm going to let him have a second to say, you know, like,
he's like kicking him in the ribs and kicking, like, but it's supposed to display strength.
No. Like there's a guy with a gun a few feet behind them that like O'Donnell, like if there are motivations that are being vacuumed out of this because you're not seeing him in the moment. Like if that was happening, if he was fighting back, they would just say, screw it, and shoot Dixon and O'Donnell in the head. There have to be elements that prevent that are written in. Like we can't shoot them because of this reason.
You could have gotten them out of the
ballistics.
wheelchair, or you could have gotten them out of the stretchers already.
Yes.
There was no reason to leave them in the stretchers.
Yes, he could have like literally. He's Jack Reacher. He could have broken those with his hands.
Yeah.
Like it just was. It seemed like, look, we have to do this sequence. Let's just go there and figure it out.
So
and
this is very similar to
it's still
season
cool.
1.
I'm not crapping on it. I'm just saying that I noticed this.
This is very similar to season 1 still, however, that they did wrap up season 1 fairly quickly as well and use the last 15-20 minutes as outro. So that falls in line, right? And it works, but at the same time, it felt a little bit like you were cheated out of more action. But I think as long as you enjoy the show and the characters, that's not too much of a big deal to everyone. I didn't think he needed to do the thing with Dixon at the end. I just don't think their chemistry really warranted it. I don't feel that they had the chemistry.
With no one. That's kind of the character.
Yeah.
So it's weird, and it is like a couple of reviews ago I said it feels like a non-human. Like it feels like Doctor Who when the Doctor Who gets involved, or the Doctor gets involved with a person. You're like, that's weird. Like I don't like that. Or like City of Angels or something where it's like, you're an angel. Don't, it's strange. I will say, like, one thing that bothers me, but I can see like a perspective on it, like the lack of carryover of characters. Like Finley, like, is a really great character. His name's Finley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Roscoe, like they're great characters, but the idea of him moving on like a vagrant from story to story applies to him. But it's also kind of smart for the longevity of the show, because what happens is, like, you have, like, think of something like Scrubs or Friends or whatever. You have this group that you're attached to. Once those people start growing into other projects, your show falls apart. But if your show's designed that way from the beginning, you got a lot, like, and you can, if you have the ability to introduce new likable characters every season, I think your show has longer legs.
Yeah, and you can bring them back once in a while.
Yeah.
They brought Finley back for one episode. Obviously, Neely was in multiple episodes in season 1, which I had to rewatch to even remember. Like, that was so that was interesting. So yeah, and perhaps now these characters will be brought back intermittently throughout season 3. But I think that the show, as much as I would have liked better use of time and the outro being a little bit of a wind down, if you like the characters, that's not too much of an issue. So, guys, let us know what you think about it. I'm still very excited for season 3.
Me too. This show's at its strongest when it's like bouncing locations and like picking up leads and not sure what's going on, and that they need to be able to like ride that to the finish, to where like it's not even so much like the Batman of Jack Reacher is the least interesting part, where he's like, I've got this huge plan. It's the battering ram and like going in, like, I know he's an investigator, but the show is at its best when he doesn't exactly know what's going on and they're just following leads. Like, there needs to be a little bit more procedural to it, but with that Jack Reacher kind of special sauce that other shows can't provide. It's like why a superhero movie is good. They do the same things that regular ones do, but they have superpowers.
The show is doing its best when they're going to scenes and they're doing their thing where they all explain in detail why this clue means what it means.
Yeah, or like
their monologues.
Well, just the discussion of like, what is this? What does it mean?
Yeah.
What doesn't, like, oh, I'm confused, or the fact that they have specialties that are so different from each other and they each bring that to the table. Like O'Donnell, his job was kind of what led them to the end of the story. It was like the fact that he did what he did and he was able to execute that so well brought them to the end, which, like we've discussed, made it seem like maybe he's the double crosser. Maybe it's not Swan. He's really trying hard to throw Swan under the bus. So now that feels like a giant red herring too. So like in retrospect, when you go back and watch the season, you're going to be like, there's elements here that are kind of weird.
So guys, just let us know what you thought about it. We're still very excited for season 3. We'll have to see where it goes, what new characters he gets to interact with. Certainly the show is still doing very, very well. The ratings have been strong for it. It got its season 3 renewal before season 2 even started. Also, it seems that Amazon seems to be going all in on shows of this nature, because they just greenlit a Terminal List prequel, which will be coming out as well, starring Chris Pratt. So guys, just leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you thought about season 2 of Reacher. I've seen a good mix of all of our reviews of people who have believed, some people really, really like it. Some people think it's gotten too absurd. Let us know down below what you think, and stay tuned. We'll be back with reviews for season 3 when it's finally said and done. See you later, guys.
See ya.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.